Hello, my dear students. How are you all? Hope you all are keeping fine. Today, we are going to start a new chapter, that is chapter 3, page number 24. The name of the chapter is The Trick That Did Not Work. Let us read the chapter. Please, all of you, look at your book. A pair of jackals become ministers to the king of the jungle and use Tricky to keep him under their control. But they do not realize the power of friendship. This classic tale from the Panchatantra shows why trying to fool others can be a very foolish thing. Deep inside a dark jungle, there lived a lion. He was a big, handsome lion with a golden mane and fiery eyes. His name was Jung, and he was the king of the jungle. Like all kings, he too had ministers to whom he listened when he was in a good mood. In a deep forest, there was a lion. The lion was very big. He was handsome with a golden mane and fiery eyes. It means with angry eyes. His name is Jung. The name of the lion is Jung, and he was the king of the jungle. Like all the kings, the lion had two ministers to whom he used to listen if he was in a good mood. Jung's ministers were two jackals, Chalu and Golu. The jackals, especially Chalu, was very cunning. They kept the king happy by telling him only what he liked to hear, and they agreed with everything he said. They sung his praises and told him that he was the bravest and the strongest king on earth. The lion's ministers were two jackals. The name of the two jackals is Chalu and Golu. The jackals, especially the Chalu, one of the jackal named Chalu is very cunning. And both of them, they used to keep the lion happy by telling him what he liked to hear. Whatever lion used feel like to hear, they used to tell him, they used to praise him and do whatever he used to tell them to do. And they used to say that he is the bravest and strongest king on earth. Naturally, the king believed that his ministers were faithful and loyal. He thought he was lucky to have such wise ministers, so he looked after them, fed them, and took them along wherever he went. The king used to believe whatever the two jackals used to tell him. The lion used to think that he was the lucky one to have such wise ministers. So he used to look after the two jackals. He used to feed them, and wherever he goes in the jungle, he used to take along with him. The jackals hardly did any work. The jackals, they never used to do work. They did not have to fight any animals to protect themselves, nor did they have to hunt for food like other animals. Both of them, they never used to fight for the animals to protect themselves. And both of them, they did not have to hunt for food for other animals, because the lion used to find the animals, he used to kill the animals, and then he used to feed them and protect them. They grew fat on whatever Jung killed. Whatever lion is killing, they used to eat them, and they are growing fat. Soon they became very arrogant and did not allow other animals to come near the lion or become friendly with him. The two jackals, they never used to make the other animals become friendly with lion. They are very arrogant, angry, and they used to One day, Jung was at the river for a drink when he heard an animal bellow. It was so loud that the whole jungle echoed with the sound and startled the lion. He had never heard anything like it before. In fact, he had rarely heard the call of other animals, since they were all scared of him and stayed as far away from him as possible. So one day, the lion was in the river for a drink. He went for a drink. So, while he was drinking, he heard an animal making a loud sound. It was so loud that the whole jungle echoed with the sound and startled the lion. The lion had never heard anything like it before. He had rarely heard the calls of other animals. The lion had never heard like that call, since they were all scared of him and they used to stay far away from him. Frightened by the sound, he went rushing back to his den, pale and fear. His ministers were surprised to see the king trembling with fear and wanted to know what had happened. By hearing the sound, the lion went rushing back to his den, to his house, with frightened, pale and with fear. His ministers, the two jackals, were surprised to see his king trembling with fear and wanted to know what had happened. At first, Jung would not tell them anything. He was too ashamed to let them know that he, the king of the jungle, was afraid of a sound. But the next day, the same thing happened. Then Jung called his ministers and told them that he had decided to leave the jungle and go away. So the lion was not telling the two ministers anything about him, that he was ashamed and he was frightened of a sound. As being the king of the jungle, he was not willing to tell and he was afraid of a sound. But the next day, the same thing happened. The sound, same echo happened again. Then the lion said to his ministers that he would have decided to leave the jungle and go away. Chalu and Golu were very disappointed to hear this. What would happen to them if the lion went away? They would have to work to find their food and would have to live in fear of the other wild animals. No, they could not let the lion go to another jungle. They begged and pleaded with Jung till he told them that he had been frightened by a terrible sound. It could only belong to a strong beast who feared no one else in the jungle. So Chalu and Golu were very disappointed to hear, very upset to hear about this, that he had decided to leave and go away from the jungle. So both of them, they are thinking that they have to work to find their food and they have to live in fear of other wild animals. So the both of them, they thought that no, the lion should not go to the other jungle. So they begged him, they pleaded him and told him that he had been frightened by a terrible sound. It could only belong to a strong beast who feared no one else in the jungle. Hearing this, the two jackals smiled to themselves, for they knew that there could be no animal in the jungle stronger than the lion. They thought that Jung was very foolish. Just because of the animal had made a loud noise, it did not mean that it was more powerful than the lion. But they did not say this to the lion. Instead, Chalu said that he would go and find out more about that animal. So, when the lion was telling that more than me there is a beast who is stronger and bravest and no one else in the jungle. So hearing this, the two jackals smiled to themselves, because they knew that there would be no animals in the jungle who is stronger than the lion. They thought that Jung was very foolish as he heard the sound of the other animals making a loud noise, it doesn't mean that they are more powerful than him. But instead of telling him that he is the bravest and the strongest one in the jungle, Chalu said that he would go and find more about the animals. What if the beast kills you? Asked Junk. To this, Chalu replied craftily, a faithful servant is not afraid of losing his life in the service of his master. The lion asked to Chalu, what if the beast kills you? Then Chalu replied craftily. Craftily means cleverly. A faithful servant is not afraid of losing his life in the service of his master. The king was very pleased with this reply, and Chalu with Golu in tow went off towards the river. To their surprise, the jackals found that the animals that had frightened the lion was a big bull who had lost his way in the jungle. So the king was very pleased after hearing the reply of Chalu, and with Golu in tow means following close behind, went off towards the river. Both of them, they went to find what is that animal who has made a loud noise. So to their surprise, the jackals found that the animals that had frightened the lion was a big bull who had lost his way in the jungle. Chalu scolded the animal for making a much noise and disturbing the king of the jungle. The bull became quiet immediately. He told Chalu that he did not know his way around, and that he was willing to go and tell the king that he was sorry for annoying him, but he first wanted the king to promise not to harm him. So Chalu scolded the bull for making such noise and disturbing the king of the jungle. The bull became quiet immediately. He told Chalu that he did not know his way around. The bull was unable to find his way around, and that he was willing to go and tell the king that he was sorry for annoying him, but he first wanted the king to promise not to harm him. So my dear students, for today I will stop here. In the next class we will continue with the next paragraph. Thank you.